Hey guys, Cam here from TodaysiPhone.com, and I wanted to give you my thoughts on the iPad Air. Now this is my video review. I have already done a full written review which I'll leave a link to in the description box. But I wanted to tell you how awesome this new tablet really is. It is fantastic. Now, as you know, they completely changed the design. If you've got a 9.7-inch Retina iPad or even an iPad 2 or first gen iPad, the design never really changed between first and fourth generation, but with this one they took a lot of the design influence from the iPad Air. What that means is your bezels along the side are much thinner, but still enough room just to put your thumbs in without touching the screen. The edges are curved, and you'll see they've got curved edges all the way around. You've got nice rounded corners, and the back is completely flat. It's only 7.5mm thin, which means that it's actually thinner than an iPhone 5 or an iPhone 5S. Your camera is obviously placed in the top right hand corner there. But in terms of design and quality, I think it looks so much better, so much classier than anything that's been out before. That's obviously partly down to the size and the new dimensions, but also along the edges you've got these really nice angled diamond cut chamfered edges which made their first appearance on the iPhone 5. In terms of performance, we can talk about the display first. As you can see, everything is incredibly sharp. And if I turn the iPad around and give you a quick look, just so you can see just how sharp it is. So if I load up Infinity Blade, for instance, you'll see not only my reflection in there, but you'll see that the display is incredibly sharp. Everything's crystal clear, and because of the A7 processor in there, everything loads really quickly as well. It just looks fantastic, and it's not something you can really see on camera, but when you're seeing it in real life, it's unbelievable. But obviously the display itself is the same as what you had on the third and fourth generation iPads, but because of the A7 processor, everything kind of happens much quicker. Switching between apps is easy. You can scroll through these here, and one thing that really impressed me was the speed of the web browsing. It felt like some pages that I loaded up, it felt like it was just doing it instantaneously. This is Apple's homepage. You can just swipe through these kind of home screens here, go to the store, or we can hit TodaysiPhone.com, and you'll see that's it. It didn't even really need any loading time. I have not been on this website today. It's in my history, but it's not cached. I haven't accessed it at all today. Let's see if I go to PhoneDog. You see, and this speed in browsing isn't just the processing, it's also the dual MIMO Wi-Fi technology, which uses two bands at once to connect as quickly as you possibly can. It is fantastic. The A7 processor is so good that even in the iPad they didn't have to make an X version of it, which they used to with the old versions of the iPad. Now in terms of battery life, I've had this a week and I've maybe charged it 3 or 4 times. I would say I get easily maybe 1.5 to 2 days out of it. I use it a lot. I use it almost every night for gaming. I use it during the day for writing up articles, for browsing, for reading emails, all sorts of stuff. But the battery life is really, really good. It will easily get you 10 hours of use, which is what it promises, maybe even more at times. Now, other thing I wanted to talk about was the sound quality. Now, it's not just louder, which it is. It's much louder than any iPad I've used before. It's got 2 stereo speakers, but it's not just the loudness that impressed me, it's the quality of the sound compared to all the other iPads. And normally when I'm doing iPad reviews, I wouldn't ever really focus on the sound because it's not something that really gets my attention. It's not something I would ever recommend a tablet for. But the bass and the treble, the middle tones, they're all fairly well balanced. Everything's clear. Now obviously it's not the same as using a proper external speaker or a hi-fi system, but it is good. The big deal here for me was the design, not just the fact that it looks really great. It looks like an iPad mini, which is in my opinion a much classier design, but they've taken a lot of weight out, they've made it slimmer and they've made it smaller, and that for me was a big deal. The fact that I can do this in one hand with a full-size iPad is quite impressive. I can hold it there. It's not always entirely comfortable, but I can hold it in one hand. The edges aren't sharp, and that was one thing I hated about the iPad 3 and 4, was that the edges were sharp, the device felt heavy, it felt thick and bulky, and once I got the iPad mini, I didn't want to use it anymore. I didn't want to use the iPad 3, even though the display was that much better. Because of the design, because there's less frame, everything kind of gets out of the way of your screen, which is really the main thing here, and it's great for reading comics or watching videos, playing games. Everything feels just much more immersive. And for me, this is the best iPad Apple has ever released. It really is fantastic. If you haven't tried one yet, go into your Apple Store, give it a go, see what you think. If you have any other version of the iPad, try this one. I'll be surprised if you don't like it more. But let me know your thoughts on this. I've got a written review on the site, as I've said. Please feel free to ask me any questions in the comments or use @TIP_cam on Twitter. I will see you again soon.